Hello, my name is Matthew James Kristoff. I'm one of the co-founders of the Catholic Watchman Movement, along with Bishop Cousins, Jeff Cavins, and a number of others. And I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about how to get some traction during this next month as you launch and start to reach out and do the TAP principle, which is to tap a man on the shoulder and invite him to the Catholic Watchman events. You know, fraternity is absolutely critical to what we're doing in the Catholic Watchman Movement. What research tells us is that men who have bonds of brotherhood in their parishes, they pray more, they go to confession more, they're more active in the parish, and they're more likely to pass the faith along to their children, especially the young men. Young men need to see older men in bonds of brotherhood and fraternity. So the question is, as you're moving forward as point men and you've starting to build momentum, you've got your group together, you're meeting with your priest, you're praying, you're asking for the Holy Spirit to help you. How do you actually go out and implement the TAP principle? Well, today I'm going to talk about three things. The first is to talk a little bit about who to invite, how to target the people. The second is to give you an example of how you can actually make a contact with a person, and then to give you a series of objections that you might hear and maybe some responses that you might give. So the first thing, number one, who are we trying to reach out to? You know, we could evangelize all over the place, and it's very difficult to reach men who aren't engaged yet in the faith in this first wave. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach the men in the parish. You know, this part of the evangelization effort needs to be personal. So you need to start by getting a list of those men who are active in the parish, that have their children in religious education, maybe are Knights of Columbus, maybe involved in the Boy Scouts. Get a list of several hundred men in your parish. And you can get that by working with your priest, with your DRE, with your knight that heads up the Knights of Columbus, and get that list together, and you divide them up across your vanguard, and then you can start contacting them. Now, how do you make an invite? Well, you know what, I'm going to give you an example, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is one way. For this, I'm just going to pretend like I'm calling somebody on the phone. Hello, Fred, this is Matthew Kristoff calling. You know, I'm one of your fellow parishioners at St. John's. I'm calling on behalf of Father Smith to personally invite you to the upcoming Catholic Watchman event that's happening at St. John's on Thursday, September 15th. It starts at 6:30. Have you heard of the Catholic Watchman? You haven't? Well, you know what? You're not alone. A lot of people haven't heard about it yet. But this is a movement within our archdiocese, called by Archbishop Hedba and Bishop Cousins, to draw men into a deeper faith. And so what is a Catholic Watchman? It's simply a group of men that are gathering together on a regular basis to pray, to spend time together in fellowship, to maybe have the opportunity to go to confession, and to learn a little more about their Catholic faith. You know, one of the things that our Bishop and Archbishop recognize is that we're all pretty busy. And so this is not meant to be some new big thing that you've got to prepare for, you've got to do, commit to large numbers of meetings and so forth. This is simply a gathering of men once a month to gather together in prayer and confession and some fellowship and some learning. Can you make it on September 15th? Now there's two responses to this. One is going to be yes, I can make it, or the other one is I'm not sure, I'm not going to make it. Either event, you're going to answer pretty much the same way. You can make it, great. Well, you know what? One of the things that we're trying to do is to be able to reach out to men using email. This is not only to remind them of these events that are going to come up every month, but it's also to be able to provide the materials, because we know a lot of men are not going to be able to make every single event. So, for example, this first month, what you're going to hear, Bishop Cousins is going to be talking about how to pray. We're going to send that video to you and to everyone after the event, and I need your email. So look forward to seeing you on September 15th. So that's an example of how you might do some outreach to a man. Let's talk about a few objections and how you can address them. Objection: I can't make it on Thursday night. Here's a response you could use. You know, a lot of men can't make every meeting, so to the extent that you can't make this first Thursday night, there'll be another event coming up in the following month. I really would love to get your email, though, so that I can send you the materials that you won't be able to make on that first event. Objection: I'm not sure I can handle one more thing. You know, response: what we're not looking for is a long-term commitment. We're asking you to show up for one event to get your feet wet and to see what's happening in this movement. You know, a lot of men are busy, but we need to make this a priority. There's so many things happening in the church, and we need men to step up. So hopefully you can make that meeting. Objection: I'm already practicing the faith, and I don't need one more thing to help me practice the faith. Response: well, you know what? We need strong men who are practicing the faith, because there's going to be a lot of guys showing up that, you know, aren't very strong in the faith. So to the extent that you can bring your wisdom and knowledge and your prayer to this will be really helpful. Objection: I'm already a Knight of Columbus. Response: well, thanks be to God. We need our Knights of Columbus showing up. In fact, we're asking all the men, regardless of any of the involvement with any of the other things that they might be involved with, to show up at these Catholic Watchmen events. Objection: I'd like to bring my son. And you know, that's not necessarily objection, but the response is, well, thanks be to God. Bring your son. Your son needs to see men gathering together on a regular basis. I'll give you one more objection you might hear. Objection: you know, I'm really ticked at the Archdiocese, and I'm ticked at my priest. I don't like what's going on in the church. Response: you know, we've had suffering. I mean, there's things that are happening in the parish or in the Archdiocese, maybe even in your own parish, that are troubling. You know, we need to gather together as men to pray for the Holy Spirit to help us and to draw the church together in strength and move forward. So hopefully you can be part of this Catholic Watchman movement.